I think one of the best plays right now for a 15x in crypto, and I believe to be easy money, is a coin I'm going to introduce you all today. What is this coin? Well, this coin is going to really be built off the back of some massive AI news we're going to be seeing, I think, over the next 6 to 12 months. I think things are going to be ramping up here. One of those indicators is BlackRock, Microsoft, Nvidia. Well, these companies are working together now to invest up to $100 billion in infrastructure for AI. And the coin I'm going to mention to you today is very close with one of them. A little too close, maybe some might say. Take a listen.
The fact that all of this graphics is done in Southern California,
yeah,
and we're looking at it like this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's already pretty cool.
So I'm going to turn on path tracing, and we're going to see what 112 GPUs can render. It's done. That was fast.
That was the founder of the project I'm going to introduce you today with the founder of NVIDIA, not one, not two, but over 10 years ago, in collaboration together, working on distributed rendering. Does that sort of ring a bell to you? Well, it might with some. Today's project, guys, is Render Network, a powerhouse in AI. In my personal opinion, won't just benefit from AI and deepen. This is going to benefit from the Solana ecosystem, as we'll soon see as well. Render, somewhat recently, went to about $13. I'm going to give you my price prediction in this video. Of course, a little hint is that I've titled this 15x, so you know it can go to a 15x or more. But of course, being a large cap, being worth about $2.8 billion right now, many of you are likely thinking to yourselves, I need to find smaller. And I would really challenge your mental thought on that, because a lot of you don't understand that sometimes in crypto, you can't have a 1 week or 1 month time horizon. Have a multi-year time horizon, the next 7-8 years. Okay, make money in this cycle with safer coins like Render than looking for your micro cap plays looking to 100x, and then use the money you've made on coins like Render in this cycle, maybe at a safer 10x, to then 10x or more again in the next cycle. If you have a 10x and 10x to 10x, that's 100x from your cost basis. So think about it. And before we start, don't forget, if you do enjoy today's video, guys, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed as well down there. This not only helps support all I do for the channel and helps me want to make more content for you all, but of course, it makes me happy. So thank you for doing that. Really appreciate it. Now, here's some quick facts on Render before we get into the price prediction and before I give you even more facts later on. And by the way, listen to the facts, guys. If you don't listen to the facts and just go to the price prediction, you are not going to understand how you can come up with a price prediction at all. And then you go watch other YouTube videos, and some of these guys out here are saying this coin could 1000x, and you're trying to understand how they got there, and then you actually start believing them, not understanding why things move. Okay, you have to understand the fundamentals in this game. It's just simple as that. So first of all, Grayscale has a decentralized AI fund in which Render is actually 25% of their portfolio. Okay, so not as much as Filecoin, not as much as NEAR, but very close to those two as well. So it takes up a large majority, and it far outweighs that of Potenza. Also, the first ever display on the Las Vegas Dome was actually created and processed in Render, on the Render network, actually. It's kind of crazy. Also, these guys are working with giants, right? Microsoft and Google have partnered with Render to bring on and support the network, all right? So both ways. Now, this is mentioned here. I mentioned this in a few different videos over time. Okay, I mentioned this pretty much every single Render video, but this is massive sort of stuff, of course, that they've recognized Render. And the reason they recognize Render is because of the parent company, Atoy. Atoy is the parent company of Render, who already have market penetration in the real world. These guys have won awards for the stuff they've done in the real world. They created Render as a product to use for Atoy and for Octane Render, which is one of their flagship products. Okay, so all of this, all of the Render network, the token we love and buy today, was created for an actual use case for an actual genuine company, okay? Atoy's Academy award-winning technology is used by leading visual effects studios, artists, animators, designers, architects, and engineers, providing unprecedented creative freedom, new levels of realism, and the whole works, okay? So Atoy is the definitive cloud graphics company pioneering technology that has redefined content creation and delivery for media and entertainment. Before Render and the Render network, really, you had to have a very fast computer in-house that would take a very long time to render even one single scene for things like movies. So it's pretty good, the fact that Render, or Atoy, has created the Render network to be able to allow these producers or whoever it might be, music, film, movies, whatever it might be, to use the Render network, plug and play on their computer, utilize the decentralized network of GPUs and do it much, much faster than they could before, as you saw with that clip between Jules, the founder, and the founder of NVIDIA. Also, did you know the Render network was actually used in the opening sequence of The Last of Us? Pretty crazy. Rendered in Octane on the Render network. Also, Lil Nas X, Long Live Montero. Okay, that music video, some of the FX on that was actually created by the Render network, or again, processed on the Render network. So what is my price prediction for Render? Well, I don't want you to leave the video after hearing this, because you have to know the reasons why, the bullish factors. Now, my price prediction is $150. And you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, Kyron, $150? Are you kidding me? That's crazy. Well, guys, when I give price predictions, I don't know about other influencers, but my price predictions are the all-time high. And if you go back to Render, for example, and you click all, and you have a look at the all-time high previously, it's a massive wick and it comes straight back down. It's unsustainable. It's not a sustained high. So I'm looking at it like this, right? Pumps up and comes back down again like this, like I did in the last cycle. So it's not a price you want to aim for. We call this on my private community on the channel here, we call it the red zone, right? It's illiquid. The gray zone you're looking at here is actually 35% down from that red zone, which is the buffer zone, because again, no one really knows if $150 will actually be hit or not. So then we have the green zone from there. So green zone is 35% down, okay, which is the liquidity zone. This is where price is likely to go based on my price prediction at the all-time high. That's $97.50, which means that ultimately, again, we're looking at $97.50 as the safe level in which you can likely exit Render. That is where we come to that sort of 15x. It's actually just under, it's a few percent under a 15x, which in my opinion is very realistic, okay? Now, at the very top, that's an 83 billion market cap at $150, considering all the tokens are out by 31st of December 2025. So like the worst case. Also, $112.50 is a 62 billion market cap, and $97.50 is a $54 billion market cap. So really, this is what we're looking at here, okay, as the max level. Now, I would say to you guys, getting out as low as possible is the way to go. You don't want to be aiming, up at these high levels, especially at these high levels. You kind of want to be up here at the worst case. But you have to also understand, guys, when we're looking at price predictions, one important variable is taking the circulating supply at that time, multiplying it by the price to get the rough market cap figure. Now, a big important factor there is the circulating supply. Now, the only difference between the current circulating supply and the one that'll be at the end of 2025 is inflation. Okay, so if we removed inflation over here, it would literally just move sideways. Okay, so what I'm sort of saying by saying this is that really, if the people receiving the inflationary rewards aren't going to be dumping on the Render open markets, it actually won't impact the price. Yes, technically speaking, by traditional economic laws, inflation dilutes the value, dilutes the purchasing power of the token or the currency. But that doesn't quite work the same way in crypto. Okay, it doesn't quite work like that because we know who's receiving these tokens, and to actually impact the market on a physical level, you have to have those tokens being sold. Of course, you have speculation sells, and people factor in, well, inflation's happening, that's a bad thing, so on and so forth. But in effect, where I'm sort of going with this is, we can pretty much disregard these market cap levels and almost in a way use these levels here, which are taken from today's pretty much circulating supply, okay? Which a little bit less. You can see here, rather than 83 billion, it's 77 billion and so on. But admittedly, you as a beginner looking to factor in, where could the top go for Render, you do have to kind of consider market cap, even though market cap actually isn't truly how much value is circulating in the coin, because at the end of the day, all the tokens actually aren't in circulation. A lot of the tokens are held up in escrow, are held up in the team's wallets that can't sell. They might be under their own sort of vesting schedules and things like that. A lot of it's used for grants, which aren't dispersed immediately. There's so much nuance to this. I just wanted to at least give you guys the full picture. I think between a 50 to 55 billion market cap is where we're roughly looking to likely go, realistically speaking, for Render Network. There's bull run just under $100. But again, who knows? I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it goes higher for all of us, okay? Now, another bullish factor, like I said before, is not only that Render is hitting AI and DeepIn, it's also hitting Solana and Solana's ecosystem, which, according to Forbes, and honestly, I would agree with Forbes in this case, one of the very rare cases I would agree with these guys, a lot of the distributions for the FTX creditors, that $16 billion, will likely funnel into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and of course Solana, but also Solana-based cryptocurrencies as well. Now, what is the number one project on Solana? Actual project, it's Render. You have Chainlink here, but Chainlink really isn't on Solana, so to speak. Render is like the top dog in this case. So I think a lot will go to Render, again, especially because it is so well positioned already. People know that, so they want to, of course, buy the best bet in the market. So given all this, I think a lot of the reasons why I'm saying like $150 all-time high, like spike up, spike down, a wick, if you will, is possible. But again, we want to come down as much as we can. So don't go aiming for those high levels, whatever you do. If you're asking me, there is a lot of supportive reasons as to why it could. One of many includes, of course, like this recent partnership here with Blender. Blender is a free open source platform that allows people to do things like graphics creation. And they actually have a lot of people supporting their open source project, if you will, including, if we saw down here, AMD, NVIDIA, Amazon Web Service, and others, including Toy, the parent company of the Render network. So this is very, very big, okay? We can see here the goal of the integration is to provide over 2 million Blender users with seamless access to the powerful and scalable rendering resources offered by the Render network. So that's very, very big. Free access to the Render network will be added to the Render Foundation roadmap if approved by the Render network community. Now, the reason why I point that out is because if this is entirely free for Blender, which would kind of suit that open source model, of course, then I don't really know if there is an immediate benefit to onboard this for Render, other than the fact that this will encourage other users to use Render. Of course, then the Render network being used in general is a very, very good thing. I just want to make sure that it's capturing value, because if there's no value capture, price won't go up as demand basically increases, and it won't really correlate, if you will. Now, not only that, of course, but Blender, guys, these guys have 13.5% of the market share right now for the particular area in which it is focused on. Okay, again, 3D pipelines. Okay, so modeling, rigging, animation, simulation, rendering, compositing, and so on. That's a lot. 5,000 customers, but they're business customers, like they said. Over 2 million users, but matter of fact, this website even goes as far as to say 15 to 25 million active users. It's like OBS for, YouTubers. It's the best software to use. It's also free and open sourced. So, I mean, it's the go-to for this, but they're not only hitting that area, right? They're not only hitting the graphic design side of things, but also they've partnered with Cinema 4D, again, somewhat recently as well. Cinema 4D is basically the same thing, except in this case, they focus more on graphic design for movies and films and things like that. And the partnership here pretty much just outlines a simple way in which people using Cinema 4D can just import their files and then use those to render on the Render network, rather than having to do a whole bunch of other stuff, basically by saving files, re-uploading files and the whole works. Now, again, I'm not someone who's very versed in this field, as you can obviously tell. However, of course, it's just simplifying a process, which is a good thing for Render, because if you simplify a process to allow users to use your project much easier, and as long as the project actually is more efficient, then of course it's going to be a no-brainer for these people to use it. So this is a good sign to see, making that sort of process simpler for those, Cinema 4D users. Now, Cinema 4D has 55.5% of the market share with 3,000 current business customers. So again, just as big, if not bigger, than Blender. And it's got some names like NBC, Paramount, and Warner Brothers. I think this is Warner Brothers anyway, using Cinema 4D. But wait, it does get better. Toy is working with Adobe, okay? This isn't massive groundbreaking news. You can actually see here, this is 10 years old, okay? But Toy announced that it's bringing its acclaimed Octane render technology to Adobe After Effects. So yeah, they're integrated, which is great, okay? So I wanted to bring all this up because, yeah, like you might think to yourself, well, Kyron, this is sort of like old-ish news. The first two obviously were quite new, but like, why are you bringing this up? Guys, we're bringing this up because when people go to buy a cryptocurrency, they latch on to ideas. Most people don't use this technology in crypto. It's, for a lot of people, vaporware. It doesn't exist. They buy the idea, okay? That's why it's so important we have to look at these things that people might want to latch onto as a reason to buy. That's why the website homepage, as silly as it sounds, is important to be clean and convey an easy message for the retail users, because if it doesn't, if it's confusing or if there's no marketing, unfortunately, price ain't gonna go up. Not at least for this cycle anyway. I got to mention as well, guys, they burn tokens via their burn and mint equilibrium method. Okay, so you can actually buy Render tokens itself or USD, and it converts it regardless into Render, burns it, and mints the new Render token. And the way it works is incentivized to actually give people back some Render tokens after a job is complete to then use again within this process. So it's very seamless for the end user, but it does so through crypto and liquidity pools. Okay, and they're actually burning quite a lot of tokens right now. We can see 135,000 Render is currently burnt, which is the equivalent to, down here, about 750,000 US dollars so far. Now, as far as I understand it, this hasn't been around forever, right? This particular burn mint equilibrium method isn't something that started off with Render all those years ago. As far as I understand it, this is quite new, okay? So the burning of the tokens, I think, will ramp up as all these partnerships begin to flourish and people actually begin using the actual project more and more. That's all bullish signs, guys. And again, that goes into the reasons that support my sort of thesis behind that high price prediction. Some of you may agree with, some of you may disagree with. I'd love to know down below. But most importantly, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, guys, if you have purchased Render or you want to purchase Render, and I don't care if you do or don't, this video ain't sponsored. I'm not here as an ambassador to Render. I do own Render tokens, okay, admittedly, but I don't care if you do or don't buy. It's going to go up regardless, in my personal opinion. So I think you need to follow some, the right people on Twitter, especially because that's where news is more up to date. So I would highly recommend you guys give Machine Alpha a follow. Okay, I'll leave links down below in the description. Give him a follow. Also, don't forget to give Rendoshi a follow as well. With these two guys, and shameless plug, give myself a follow down there as well. With these two guys as well as myself, you won't miss a single thing about Render, which can be a very important part of crypto. News changes all the time. This market never stops, literally. So you might wake up and something might have happened, good or bad, and you need to react sometimes. So give us a follow down there. And yeah, guys, all the best for 2025. Let me hear it. If you love Render, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll talk to you all very soon. Take care. Bye.